Welcome everyone to the first ever Top Talk session. We're going to do a tete-a-tete with Nikhil Sharma, who's the regional director for Eurasia for Wyndham Hotels in India, and he's in charge of India. And I'm very excited to begin this series with him because he's one of the hoteliers who I say always has a smile on his face. Even during the pandemic, I don't think I've seen Nikhil not smiling. So obviously, Wyndham Hotel has been in India from the 1980s, and it's got 50 plus hotels, and things are opening up. And I'd like to chat with Nikhil about his company, what they're doing in India, what is the perception that he has of the country. They are a franchise only brand when it comes to India. So their attitude towards the business is different. So one of the things that I want to ask him also is how their company has dealt with the last 2 years when a lot of international hotel chains, unfortunately, were not being able to hold on to their employees. So, firstly, Nikhil, welcome to the show. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much
Vikram.
for being you. You are my first, and because you are always smiling. Even during pandemic, when I called you, you were always smiling and laughing. So it's very difficult. And you've just announced your Q4 earnings, and the smile has
Yes,
become bigger. And maybe you've
yes.
got a share of that Q4 earning also. You don't know. So let's begin. Firstly, give us a view of what's been happening at Wyndham and where you're at right now, and then again for the next, I mean, next 3 quarters, because I guess you guys do calendar year, right?
That's correct. We do calendar year. But firstly, let me congratulate you on starting Top Talk and having me and Wyndham as the first in your series, and wishing you and ET Hospitality all the success and bigger endeavors on Top Talk. So congratulations and best of luck. Let me take a backseat, Vikram, and just give the big picture of who Wyndham is, because a lot of let me just say consumers may not recognize Wyndham.
Hmm.
Wyndham is the largest franchisor in the world with almost 9,000 hotels globally in 95 countries, 22 brands and 22 iconic brands. And when I tell you the names of the brands, people will say, "Oh, is that a Wyndham?" Right from Days to Super 8 to Ramada, Hawthorne Suites, and La Quinta, all are all actually Wyndham brands, right? So from that perspective, it's an extremely large company by the number of rooms. We are the largest hotel company by number of hotels that we have in the country, in the world, and hopefully in this country we'll get there. Um, we, Newsweek just just last month actually announced in US uh, Wyndham Hotels and Resorts as the fourth most loved workplace, and just last week, Forbes actually voted uh, Wyndham in America as one of the best employers. So that's a little bit about Wyndham and the human angle that we should dwell in the next 45 minutes or so.
Okay. Well, like we were talking about the franchisee, what a lot of people don't know is uh, a lot of the international players are majorly franchisee when it comes to business outside of this country. While as in India, it's management contract is the route that they took. And, you know, unlike Wyndham, who had a hotel, I think in the mid 80s, and they've had that hotel continuously, people did come in and try the franchisee model, and they failed, or they it was a very bad deal for them. In fact, there is a couple of hotel chains who have come in as a management contract model and has gone down the same way. First, tell me, how is it that Wyndham has been able to succeed as a franchisee, and how does it differ from a management contract model? um, in that, as an operator, what are the kind of challenges that Wyndham faces currently with the current crop of owners?
Right. So I'll start with the easy piece, the challenges, right? They're the same as any other brand. They don't change. Now, a very interesting question that you asked, franchise versus management. And let me just dwell a little bit into that. If you look at any American listed hotel company, they are at least 72% and north of 72% franchised globally, like. Yes, from the Middle East to Southeast Asia, management is the route. We've continued to stay close to the DNA on franchising. And I think we've been able to manage that on because our outlook has always been owner first mentality, and the strength of our brands. Um, I would say the resiliency in the leisure segment in the last few years, and lastly but not the least, the benefits of the segments that we operate in. Our sweet spots are economy, mid-scale, and upscale, and that really is our strength.
But the thing about franchisee is that it's a question of what kind of control the brand has on the product, and that I guess is why many other chains who have come into the country don't want to go the franchisee route or have felt that they did not. So, how has Wyndham been so successful in the owners that it's chosen? Because I guess that is a bigger part of the equation.
Right. So our when we say franchise, it's not that we give just the brand and some sales and marketing support. We actually handhold our owners throughout uh, India and globally. And when I say handhold, they are webinars every week for the hotel teams, and we of course do not force anything down. It's an opt-in should they want to attend it. We have physical audits at the sites, and we keep backing it up with enough training for team members and the hotel team members to live up to the brand standards, to live up to guest expectations, and keep evolving. In the last 2 years, if I can use the word, agility has been key in every aspect, and in terms of technology, we have made large strides. One aspect on technology, Bikram, is the B2C piece, which everyone talks about, is the mobile app and so on and so forth. But from an owner's perspective or from the hotel perspective, Wyndham in the last 2.5 years has invested on a platform where today owners have a community. They have all that they ask for, whether it's a link to OTA Insight, data on STR, revenue management, all of that amalgamated in one platform for them to use and to strengthen the base and move forward from there.
Okay. Um, but being a franchisee model, you already were a pretty agile company. So let's talk now about the 2 years where there's been a bloodbath, both from the point of view of earnings as well as from the outlook on the people who work in your hotel.
Mhm.
How have you guys done over the last 2 years, and what have you done with the kind of learnings in these 2 years, and how are you going to take it forward?
Are you referring to redundancies that happened across the industry, or
Yes, redundancies as
okay?
well as one part was revenue loss, the other part was personal revenue losses for those who lost their jobs.
Right. I mean, that's the unfortunate part of our industry, right?
Yeah.
We've globally we've had redundancies, and in this part of the world, there were no furloughs or support from state or central government, unlike the rest of the world. What we at Wyndham actually did was we tried and facilitate team members in different industries, in retail, in hospitals, and we leveraged our network to try and get the needy, if I can say, alternate job careers within within the cities that they operated in, because I think that's something that the industry doesn't speak of enough, but it's extremely important to, and because uh, we aren't a very well paid industry, right, at the
Mm.
grassroots level, and that is where the talent crunch is today happening, not only in India but globally, and that's going to stay for some time. So in the near future, if you ask me, I think it's about talent, multi-scaling, and growing that piece. And of course, a lot of people today understand work-life balance differently after being based at home. The priorities are very different. So the the outlook to the industry is very different today, and that's something that collectively as an industry we have to take notice. It's not one brand, it is the industry that needs to move forward, make sure that we get the right talent in, we pay the talent, and there is work life balance.
Has the has the kind of landscape of the industry as far as owners and how they look at the assets and properties changed? How much actually, let's not say change because it has changed, but how much of it has changed for Wyndham in the last 2 years, that during after the first in the last 20 in 2020 21, how many hotels did you sign and how many hotels could you open? Because I know there was a flurry of openings you guys did. So how many of those were reflaggings, or it was deflagging and then switch over to yours? That is also a big opportunity.
You're absolutely right. Conversion is a big piece for us as a brand. If I was to talk about the numbers, and I will come back to the growth in franchise that we are seeing in the country, we were in the international division. We had the highest number of signings in 2020, which was 12, and we had 7 openings. 2021, from the data should be official, but from what I understand from data from JLL is that we've continued that trend, and we've had the highest number of signings, which is 12 again, and we had 5 openings. So is franchising growing? If we were to look at 2017, 18, 19, 20 data, from 10%, it's moved closer to 20%. So, and this is the organized hospitality space that we're speaking about, right? So the trajectory in the last 4 years, Vikram, has been towards franchising in this part of the world from 10 to almost 20% at the moment.
What is the kind of cost that you're looking at from an owner's point of view when you compare management contract to franchising? Percentage bolo, don't give me ball. Yeah.
Let's just say it's
you are saying it's gone up by 10%, so it must be something really interesting.
let's just say a lot of owners during the pandemic realized that they are actually paying a lot more for activities that they are involved in, and that is where even within brands, international brands, they have pivoted towards franchise. And I'm not saying that we've got all of it. The international brands have been able to maintain that momentum within the brands, and make some hotels from managed to franchise, and continue that piece. So obviously it is fairly competitive compared to a management contract, and it depends which brand you're talking about. But I would say that one of the things that we have done differently, and where I say we are addressing the market needs. So like you said, that India is primarily a managed market, right? 85% managed. So we've used the Wyndham DNA, which is the franchise ability, and we've used third-party operators, and we've partnered with the third-party operators to manage hotels where when an owner feels that he'd like our brand, but he'd like it to be managed professionally, and we've introduced parties as third-party operators with those owners, and it is still a very competitive number compared to us offering a management service to him.
Okay. But you do have the option of offering a management service, or would you not say?
We do. No, absolutely. We manage hotels. We manage hotels in Dubai, in Southeast Asia, in US, in Europe. We manage assets globally. So out of 9,000 hotels that we have, like I said, 97% today are franchised. The 3% are managed. So it's not that we have zero managed. It's just that we've continued to franchise in this part of the world, and use the strength of third-party white label operators, and partner with them to offer that service to the market.
When you're looking at owners, I know it's a unfair question to ask you since you have not been in Wyndham for 30 years, but you've been in the industry for quite a few years. Compared to 1990 and 2020, what have you seen as far as difference goes in the kind of owners you are dealing with?
It's an interesting question. I think the owners today are much more evolved. They're much more worldly wise, and they understand the ROI much better. So it's not ROE or return on ego; it's more ROI driven. And a lot of owners are focused on that today, rather than and they treat hospitality as a business and not a return on ego. So that's the big shift that's happened. And like I said, owners are far more intuitive on just as an example, we have 92 million members today on Wyndham Rewards, which is our loyalty piece, right? Which is a big driver towards contribution and, of course, and having that loyal base of guests returning back to you. That to an owner in the 1990s would not have been as important as it is today in 2022.
Mm. And the profile of the owner is also getting younger, or they're still like family
I
businesses
think
that you guys are dealing with? Mm.
oh yeah, I mean, it's a mix, Bikram. I wouldn't say that all of them are younger, but yes, the younger generation is definitely far more involved, and on the ball actually. They know the business, and that's it's a delight when the other side knows the business. From a brand perspective, you don't have to teach them so much. It's a peer to peer rather than a parenthood relationship.
And I've spoken to a few of your owners, and there are enough who are in the hospitality business who have both management contract hotels from other groups and franchisee, and they've kept on to both. So when it comes to apples and oranges, from a Wyndham point of view, do you think at some point, as owners evolve, more international brands will opt for franchise as well? So your space is going to get crowded, because right now your space is not so crowded, because there aren't any of these international franchise. There aren't any. I mean, and the kind of people who are doing franchising are at a much lower part of the market.
Which is true. But it is also true for the other international brands. They are franchising a few brands.
Mm.
It's not that they aren't, but they're selective about franchising their brands. In our case, we are franchising all of the 6 brands that we have in the country, and we are looking at introducing hopefully 1 to 2 more brands this year, depending on trademarking them into the market. So we start with the budget, which is the days hotels and days suites, and then we move into our easy conversion piece, which is the Howard Johnson. And we have 3 of them at the moment. We have 6 days at the moment. And then there is Ramada Encore, which is a more lively, youthful brand, more for the youth. Of course, the Ramada, which is what you refer to, the Ramada Palm Grove Juhu, which is the oldest hotel in the country, which is in Mumbai, which is 30 plus years old. Incidentally,
For
Ramada
Wyndham,
was
they're the oldest hotel for Wyndham in the
for Wyndham.
country.
Incidentally, it was not Ramada was not a Wyndham brand. So out of the 22 brands, 18 brands have actually been bought over a period of time. Ramada was actually a Marriott brand, which Wyndham owns, and Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, earlier Wyndham Hotel Group or Cendant, only actually the company is fairly young. It's about 18 years old, 18 plus years old, and over a period of time, Wyndham has acquired more and more brands and grown globally. So that's the Ramada piece. We've introduced Hawthorne Suites, which is our extended stay. And it's a huge market in Europe. It's a huge market in US. So Hawthorne Suites is a premium extended stay offering. And of course, the mother brand Wyndham, we've opened 2 of them last year, one in Mohali and one in Ahmedabad.
And the 2 new one is the ones that you're introducing is Hawthorne Suites, Days Inn, and these are the 2 new
So
ones.
these are all the operating ones. Because the new brands are not trademarked or registered yet. We are in the process of doing that with the legal pieces. Once that's done, we'll go out with the announcements of the 2 new brands.
What segment are they going to be in?
Well, so one of them is going to be a soft brand, and one of them is a more lifestyle-ish brand, if I can say, because I think from the repertoire we have at the moment, those are the 2 buckets that we are currently missing in this part of the world, whether it's India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, or Nepal, Bhutan. And once we have them, I think we have much more firepower to be out there in the market and make it happen.
So you are currently at 54 hotels.
We are in South Asia. We are at 53, and I'm not taking Pakistan into account here. Incidentally, we are the largest international operator in Pakistan with 5 operating hotels and a huge pipeline. So if you were to exclude Pakistan, it's 53 operating hotels, and we intend to open Gangtok this quarter. So that'll make it 54 operating hotels.
54 after this
Uh,
quarter. What is the strategy ahead for the year? What are you looking at? Which are the areas in India that you're looking to explore? Which are the brands which you think are going to be successful? And what is the kind of interest you're getting from people wanting to tie up with you?
that's a lot of questions. So
Mm.
we have seven
We have a lot
planned.
of time. We have a lot of time. Mm.
We have seven planned openings, Vikram. But one of the strategies that you alluded to earlier was conversion, and in the past we've been able to convert assets in the same year, as in sign, get the owners to um, retrofit brand specs and then open in the same year. So if that would happen this year, depending on of course the pandemic not going more negative, I think we could potentially have a few more openings, and I'm fairly confident about that. Um, you'd have to break up your questions because there were too many of them, and
Okay.
I kind of
Strategy
lost
ahead
it.
for the next year. What is the kind of areas
Strategy
that you're
ahead,
looking at?
right? So we are actually in at the moment trying to hire a few more resources, not only in the corporate, but of course with our growth at the unit levels, you will see growth in numbers of Wyndham team members. So at the unit level, we have about 5,000 team members in India itself. And I'm not taking Sri Lanka and other countries into account, but just within India, because the discussion is around India, is 5,000. In the corporate office, we are adding more business development resources with focus on a few territories that we feel needs more attention from our end. And I'm fairly confident that our pipeline of almost 30 hotels will go up further in this year by in double digits.
It's still a very conservative number of hotels for a company that's been around in India for 30 years. But I guess there's been ups and downs in the journey.
Yes, like every brand, right? I mean, and then like I said, Wyndham didn't own Wyndham didn't own Ramada 30 years ago, and it is a 18-year-old organization. So I would say that we've been fairly successful since the time we've set shop in India from a full-fledged perspective. And like I shared, in the last 2 years, our numbers do the talking as from an international brand perspective, highest number of signings, highest number of openings. And this is data from hotel analysts, and it's not us who are actually putting it out there. So I would say I'm fairly confident in 2022 and 2023, we are going to continue a similar trajectory.
Are you bringing in any kind of elements or any kind of practices, management practices, to make your brand more attractive to both the consumer as well as owners?
Hmm.
You were saying something about your sales, global sales that you want to bring in or something, no?
Right. So what we've done in the past few years is we've actually set up a national sales team, which in domestic companies is called RSO, and that is one of our trump cards, if I may say, because today we are able to supplement a lot of domestic demand internally, and India is really a domestic driven. If 95% of our business in the country is domestic and only 5% is international, and with the borders closed in the last 2 years, it was all 100% domestic, right? So uh, we've been fortunate to create a good team around the national sales team, and service our hotels, and this is actually a paid activity that hotels subscribe to, and if I can say this, that hotels looked at ways of cutting down costs in the last 2 years, and I'm happy to say that every hotel that had NSS, um, barring barring one or two, actually continued with that service, and we've grown that service every quarter. So that's one of the ways we've been able to sustain growth domestically in India.
And on the subject of expansion, what is the kind of things that you're seeing in the market? What are the kind of people coming and meeting you? Are they meeting the grade, or are they vastly varied, or do you think the standard generally is improving? Are people understanding the ethos of the brand better? from new associations. I am sure that the older ones have become quite conversant with what Wyndham means, because that is a area that you can also explore, right? To go and look at absolutely virgin new territory.
Absolutely. So our strength, Bikramjit, is actually tier two, tier three cities, and that is where our strength comes from. Case in point, we announced just this month the signing of Ramada Residences in Sasangir, which is 225 keys, and and gear for gear to have 225 keys is large, right? Because typically you have sub 50 room hotels there. Now, what we have done differently is this is a resort, and this is a sale and leaseback resort where we and the owner actually have a certain percentage that the owner maintains, including common area, and he sells the rest part as a timeshare to to others who are wanting to buy it, and in turn you get a beautiful resort in a place like Sasangir. So there are different models, and sale and leaseback is something that we've just introduced. Again, it's very innovative in this part of the world. It's done differently, and I am sure other brands will start catching on sale and leaseback in the near term.
Now, let me ask you a question, which is a bit of a bouncer, which you were also expecting. Let me ask you from a perspective, and as you know, talent is in major shortage in the hospitality industry. It's difficult to get people to join unless you're in the industry and you can't find a job anywhere else. How would you attract a person to come and work in a Wyndham hotel, since a Wyndham is a franchisee?
Right.
So it is the owner. So what would you as a company do, especially after these 2 years? I mean, everybody's lost job things, and you have said that you guys did try and get them jobs in other sectors, etc. But coming forward, after taking, I'm sure every hotel chain except barring a few Indian chains have taken a huge hit when you talk about looking after employees and things like that. So from Wyndham point of view, what is it that you can tell people who are looking to join your operations? Have a lot of you have openings coming out in operations, right? So what are you as a company going to do or willing to do to ensure that these guys at least get a certain standard of work and stuff?
So it's a great question, right? And at Wyndham, there are a few compliance trainings that each one of us is supposed to undertake, and one of them is actually, for lack of a better word, I'm calling it human rights, right? And that is something that we ensure our units understand, and there is equality, there is active voice from the hotels, there is work-life balance, which I alluded to, and these are elements that we, as the guardians of the brand, push to the hotels. We ensure the relevant training is parted not only to the senior management, but down the line. And to your question of the grassroots, uh, the once you join an international brand, the opportunities to grow not in within India but globally open up a little bit more. And of course, if somebody's worked with us in India, has a better opportunity of being employed within our brands in Dubai or Singapore, as case in point. So that's something that uh, we have been doing. Should we be doing more of it? Absolutely. Should we be focusing on it more? Absolutely. So are we doing enough? Probably not, but that's something that I think we should do a little bit more.
I think your view and my view on work-life balance is a little different from the current benchmark of work-life balance, let's say, and everyone knows that. So let's not talk about that. Um, Obviously, as a brand, you want to see a kind of uniformness, and you have your audits, you have your various ways of monitoring what's happening in hotels. Suppose a hotel doesn't meet a standard, what do you do, and what have you been able to do? Because
Right.
obviously not all owners are the same, and there are a lot of new owners who come in with great gusto, and then especially after these 2 years, paise nahi hai, I can't do anything, mujhe kuch nahi karna hai. Then what do you do, because it's your name on the board?
Right. So obviously we work with the owners and the management to improve their service standards. and get them to a certain level. We obviously monitor the net promoter score on a monthly basis with the hotels, and push the hotels that are not in the green zone in our view. But the long story of what you just asked is, like every brand, there is, uh, a curing period for compliances, and then there is a check again, and there's a curing period. Obviously, on multiple failures, that hotel can get deflagged. Um, but I've not seen in the past 3 years hotels getting deflagged because of non-compliance on, let me just say, brand standards. But of course, because of financial defaults, a lot of brands have have deflagged hotels, and it's not only us, but a lot of brands have done that.
Yeah, true. And these hotels come back to you and say, "Can we become a Wyndham?" What do you tell them when you know they've been deflagged because of issues?
Well, let me just say that we are far more flexible in terms of financial fees, if I can
Mm,
say that, and
mm,
far more affordable than some other brands in the market. And that actually gives us a plus plus. I give you a small example, right? We do not force our hotels to only work with Opera,
mm,
right? We have 6 property management systems, and
mm,
IDS is one of them, right? So it's extremely affordable for an owner to log into our PMS, which is integrated direct connect with our backend, which is Sabre, and that is a big plus, right? Because that's a lot of money off your book straight away,
mm.
right? So those are the small tweaks that we have made to the model within the country to make sure that we are friendly and, like I said, owner first mentality, and think from the owner's shoes, and how can the brand be more flexible in these avenues, and that's really what we've been able to achieve in the last few years.
You're giving very short answers, which is not unlike. I think Nikhil, you need a couple of drinks before you have this conversation. Um, Okay, now let me ask you a question from a point of view of, again, a person coming and visiting Wyndham as a guest. Um, are you going to be entering any other different segment of the market, or are you going to stay in your segment? Because you have a loyal following who come and stay in Wyndhams, and I understand that because you have so many loyalty members.
So, Vikram, let me just go global and then come back to this part of the world. Last year, we opened 400 hotels globally
Hmm,
in the calendar year, which is more than one hotel a day.
hmm,
Um, and of course, it covers all segments, right from economy to upscale to luxury. Because in the 22 brands that we have, we actually go from budget to luxury, right? So from a
hmm, hmm.
days, which is a budget offering, to a Wyndham, which is a luxury offering, and hopefully, and I'm putting here the cart before the horse, but we will have a Wyndham Grand announcement um, in the coming quarter. So that is again a luxury plus product, if I can say that. So we are extending our brands across, and I do believe that there is a market for the lifestyle piece, which I spoke of,
Hmm.
which could potentially be a La Quinta, which is 1,000 plus hotels in US itself. We've just opened in Southeast Asia. We've opened the first La Quinta in Dubai, and I think it's a great lifestyle brand, a youthful brand that can do well in this country, and it's nice and peppy, and it's very Indian because it's got a lot of colors in it. So that's La Quinta, and then of course the soft brand that I spoke to you about, which is being trademarked at the moment.
Which shall remain unnamed. You have to go to the Wyndham
Well,
website
okay,
to.
so well, if you see our 22 brands, there are only two soft brands, right? One is called Registry Collection, the other is called Trademark. So
It'll be one
we are
of them.
actually, it is one of them. It is
Okay.
absolutely one of them.
This is not rocket science. So you can go to the website and check it out. Now, what I wanted to ask you is when it comes to the luxury section, especially in our country, the luxury
Yes.
segment is a segment which is so service centric.
Hmm.
It has clients who demand levels of service which I don't think any other country asks for. And I've been speaking with a lot of people. I've been speaking to you about how this dearth of talent is leading to lowering of guest scores, because even a American tourist or someone coming and staying in a luxury hotel in India will expect the same level of services. He's not going to walk down the corridor to get ice from an ice machine, which he will do in New York,
That's true.
right?
That is true.
Franchising in this segment has never been very popular. I don't think in our country. It's always been a lot of the luxury hotels are. I mean, traditionally were owned by the company who ran the hotel, and then now, to some extent, they're either that or managed. How do you think Wyndham Grand is going to play out in that area? Because it is a ROE kind of a environment, even though people are looking at ROI. What is the kind of feedback? What is the kind of brickbats do you expect from the owners? Because now everything is starry and rose tinted glasses, no?
So, here's my view, Vikram, and of course, traditionally in this part of the world, you have seen luxury being operated, like you said, from managed or owned or both, right? Owned and managed. Globally, that trend has really changed to franchised, has changed to franchise plus third party managed, right? So the announcement that we will make, and I can say this because the LOI is signed, is actually franchise and third party managed, so that um, there is a certain standard that you spoke of. There is a certain brand standard that we know is going to be delivered at that level, because that is the basic expectation. Of course, the ratios of staffing are going to be more than a days or a Ramada Encore. The banqueting and the social functions are going to be far more because of the space these larger hotels have. So, case in point, the Wyndham Ahmedabad is a 160 room hotel, and its convention center is one of the largest convention centers in Gujarat. It's called the Forum Convention Center. It's 4 floors, and I think um, it's 30,000 square feet of pillarless in one of the convention halls. So it's by far the largest convention center, not only in Ahmedabad but in the state of Gujarat. So obviously the brand standards and the service levels evolve as per the brand, and we are there to support it.
Okay. And obviously, you come in much cheaper because you are a franchisee with
More
a third
economical,
party,
not
uh,
cheaper.
more economical. Can you give me an idea of how much more economical you are than your leading hotel brand coming in with a luxury at the same level? Percentage.
I would say 30-40% more
Wow.
economical than a leading international player. Yeah.
Okay, so that gives a fair amount of leeway to the owners. And are you opening this with a owner who's already associated with you or
No,
new?
no, these are new owners who are not associated with us. So,
Okay.
the landscape is changing, and you kind of alluded to that, right?
Hmm.
On the owner mindset. So the landscape is definitely changing, and you see far more mature owners who understand the franchise piece, right?
Hmm.
Who have seen it working, and I think the FMCG industry and the McDonald's of the world have really changed the mindset of a lot of owners from a franchise
Hmm.
perspective, and that you're seeing that translate in hospitality now. And
I will. You're leading in me into this. This is the exact question I want to ask you because there are enough companies who have come into this country and are very successfully running franchise operations. There are the large international brands are still coming into the country and doing master franchises. Wyndham holds the master franchise in some way, but are you also have you been approached by companies who are company like corporate owners, not in because a lot of your owners are families, right?
Mhm,
I'm
mhm,
assuming. Are you
mhm.
seeing interest from the corporate side now with property companies coming in and looking at Wyndham to do a series of hotels? Is that a new development? Would I say? Would you say that there is interest
So
coming from that side?
let me case in point give you two examples of two profiles of two owners, right? The owner of the Ramada Ahmedabad and the owner of Ramada Statue of Unity, the Encore Statue of Unity, which is again in Gujarat, also owns the Taj in Ahmedabad,
Hmm.
right? So the profile is diverse, right? So he went in with a Taj, and he has a Ramada in Ahmedabad, and he owns an Encore in Statue of Unity. So that's a profile, right? Um, the owner of one of the Ramadas in Jaipur also owns the Marriott, also owns a Meridian, also owns a Novotel in Jaipur. So the Novotel in Jaipur, the others are and the Marriott in Jaipur. So obviously they are far more evolved. That said, uh, are corporates or corporate houses getting into hospitality? Yes, they are. Are they engaging with international companies? Yes, they are. And is Wyndham a choice for them? Absolutely, because they feel that franchise plus third party could be a great fit for them because it gives them the flexibility that management does not give them. It gives them better financial control, and at the end of the day, it is about ROI. So that is where franchising scores above management in terms of
Hmm.
flexibility from controlling that money.
But if it scores above management, as you said, and you've been harping this point from the beginning, why is it only at 20% of
Well,
hotel operations in the country?
good things take time to mature. I think we this and uh, I like I said, if you look at US, which is a more mature market, any international brand there is at least 70 north of 72% franchise, right?
Hmm.
And third party operators. I think India is getting there. Also, Vikramjit, the other piece is that hospitality in India has been luxury led and it's been an inward pyramid, right? And you've not had the explosion of global brands till about 15 years ago, and them coming in, and does take time to for a market to mature. I think we are prime, we are getting there, and you will definitely see not only international players but domestic players
Hmm.
franchising in the next few quarters, if not next few years. I would be fairly surprised if we don't see that.
And as a company, do you think you will develop a brand which is for India? Is that in the offing? Is that a thought? Is that something you've discussed with Dimitri?
So, the good thing is I have a great boss based in
Okay.
London, Dimitris, who you've had the pleasure of meeting, and hopefully you'll see him in April at HICSA. And he has a keen open eye, and he understands this part of the world, right? um, I think personally, I think the soft brand is actually our answer to that,
Hmm.
because we could potentially be more flexible on some brand standards. That said, something that we will not compromise on, and we do lose a lot of deals, is fire life compliance,
Hmm.
because our FLS is far more stringent than most domestic brands. It is of we are NASDAQ listed, so our compliance is basis all international norms, and uh, some deals just fall through because the owner doesn't want to put something at the end of a dead end area and so on and so forth. So those deals do fall through for that. So that's something that we will not compromise on fire life and safety. Of course, cleanliness and sanitization in the last 2 years has taken a different
Hmm.
turn altogether. So that those standards that need to be maintained are of course of highest value to us.
Cleanliness and sanitization does not go hand in hand with work-life balance, because the number of people in the hotels have gone down, but everyone is cleaning at a far higher rate.
That is true. That is absolutely true.
Whether it is a Wyndham or a non-franchisee hotel. Uh, I wanted to ask you after this, what is the kind of which are the areas of India you would like to see more of Wyndham hotels? Which are the areas you think which are unexplored as far as Wyndham is concerned? Because the last 2 years, obviously, everybody has gone bonkers over leisure properties. So in the next 5 years, whatever's coming up, even the mid-scale and budget, there'll be a lot in leisure, because I think urban is going to now stop for a bit, unless it's an old project, right? Am I correct in my assumption?
You're correct in your assumption, and that is the general trend. But I think you would need as many hotels in urban as because at the end of the day, India is an undersupplied market as far as hotels are
Mm.
concerned in the organized sector, and I think there is enough growth in urban that is required. But yes, the general trend is leisure. And your question for us is where would we like to grow? So we would like to grow in Hyderabad, which is an urban center, as well as Goa. I think we are missing a few markets at the moment, and if we could grow in the south of India, I think that's a market that of course, we could have more presence in, because I personally believe there is a lot of potential in that part of the country where we are, I wouldn't say underrepresented, but would like to have more flags there.
But something like your soft brand, which you are very keen to bring in, and you keep stressing on the word the organized sector, because as you and I both know, there is a huge unorganized hotel market in the south. A 2 star, 2.5 star, there's lots of opportunity. Are you looking at that? Is that why you're getting more people in development to specifically go and target hotels like that? But or do you think even in your soft brand there are going to be issues, definitely, with things like fire and safety compliances for sure? So
Unfortunately, yes, they will be.
yes. So, but
They
is
will be.
that a huge? Is that a segment you're looking at the unorganized kind of sector in the south, or even in places like the northeast, which has a lot of homestays and a lot of small hotels? Are you keen to go into areas like the northeast of India?
We are absolutely keen to have more flags in northeast of India, and like I said, this quarter we'll open our first casino hotel in the country, in Gangtok. So it ticks a lot of marks, and you know, if you'd like to gamble a little bit, I would definitely host you there. It's Gangtok, right? I mean, I think you and I both love that city, so yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
So, no, what I wanted to say is that are you looking at a spurt of growth once soft, once your soft brand comes in? Are you looking at a acceleration in your growth? Right now, you're at 53, 54. You're saying another 10, 12, 15 this year.
Well,
But
yeah,
with soft
seven
coming
opening.
in,
Yes,
seven
yes,
openings, 10,
absolutely.
12, 15. Huh?
Absolutely, Bikramjit. That's the idea, right? If you get a soft
Because
brand in,
your company opened 400 hotels last year.
that is correct. That is
And you
correct,
are
and
a,
we have 9,000. We are a small part of that 400 with just five openings.
yes,
But yes,
yes.
yes, the
But
opportunity is immense in this part of the world. The soft brand, I do believe, has a greater uh, can
potential.
explode potential, and it can explode into benefiting us. And
And
we
what is,
we have the capability domestically and internationally to make sure we can service it and and make it grow.
what is the kind of feedback you're getting? What is the kind of feedback you're getting from owners or people you're approaching when you take the soft brand to them?
It's very interesting, right? But it's just that we can't speak about it at the moment because it's not out there in the market.
Hmm.
But another international brand has launched their soft brand, and they are gaining traction. So the sentiment is definitely positive on the soft brand. I do believe that once we are able to launch it, we should have very large numbers in the next 18 to 24 months.
Okay, now let's talk about what happened recently, which is you had your Q4 earnings.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
And how was your Q? You have a big smile on your face because everybody in the office has got a little bit of the Q4 earning pie, I believe. Congratulations, everyone. But how has that been? How have you done this year? And what was it compared to 2021, 22, that time? Huh?
So, well, the numbers are out there, but we did 590 million in adjusted EBITDA, and that is just 5% less than 2019 numbers, right? So globally, we've almost recovered to 2019 numbers. Of course, in some international markets, in Southeast Asia, and of course India, we have seen the pandemic curbs, making sure that business and travel is not at the same trajectory. But that said, November and December for a lot of hotels within the country has been the best month ever, and in many years. So we're talking about recovery from the second wave, and every analyst is surprised on how fast we've been able to recover. I believe that we will start seeing a similar hockey stick, V shape, whatever recovery that analysts keep calling, in the next few weeks again.
And how is the industry? How are your owners feeling now? Because you know, Omicron is considerably milder than what people were talking about, and As you said, December was fantastic. January was a dampener. What is the sentiment that you're seeing in the market? What is the sentiment you're seeing in the hotel? What are you seeing in the reservations and potential business from the point of view of rooms sold? What is that you're seeing in the next 3-4 months? And of course, summers are coming.
So, Vikram, typically, unless you're a leisure destination like Goa, 1st to
Mm,
15th of Jan is typically slow because corporates do take time to start coming back, and that's a segment that we now see reviving compared to last year. We've obviously seen the
mm,
MSME sector continue to grow, and the SME has really been the backbone, other than social events that have in the last 2 years filled the hotels, and multiple social events, right? From a forward-looking statement perspective, I would say that I do believe that the corporates are going to come back. um,
mm.
Feb and March have a lot of Muhurat dates and Maha Muhurat dates, so you will see a lot of social functions coming back, and a lot of that is actually coming to hotels because, like, the traditional can I won't say the traditional community centers, the traditional barat ghars, and the gardens and farms. That kind of business is now definitely in hotels, right? In one brand or the other. Because the numbers are smaller, people are willing to spend, and they are more conscious about the quality and the sanitization. So you're seeing that in hotels, and that is going to grow. And I do believe that February and March are going to be very good months for us.
Okay. And for I think for everyone, hopefully, we are all hoping, and we are hoping that the government also eases all the restrictions.
Absolutely.
How prepared is the brand for what lies ahead as far as medical emergencies go? Because even though we know that it's behind us, there's already another variant, some B2 variant of Omicron, which everyone is talking about. And obviously, I mean, media is to blame to some extent for amplifying all information. But one of the things about our country is that we have very short memories, which is why the second wave, I think, hit as badly as it did. How do you, as a hotel company, balance that? And you're a franchisee, so you don't know, beyond a certain point, you don't have the kind of involvement in the operation of the hotel. So what do you do as a company? Because you obviously feel for your owners, you feel for the people who come in, obviously you feel for the people who work in the hotels. So how do you look at it ahead in the next year when a lot of work, more people will come in, there has to be, of course, trainings, and people will be lost in the madness. But how do you keep your finger on the pulse just in case, just to be cautious?
So, firstly, I think the government of India has done a commendable job on the vaccination and the percentage of vaccination that have happened in the country. And that said, I think not only the private sector, but even the government is more ready for another wave of pandemic. It did catch
Mm-hmm.
everyone by surprise in the second wave. I think everyone has done a commendable job. We do have a pulse on our hotels, and while we say franchise, we work more like a franchise player, and we are very, very engaged with our hotels. Something that Wyndham doesn't really speak about, but during the second wave, we actually donated $100,000 to the Indian Red Cross to make sure that um, oxygen or any other medical requirements reach uh, the needy. And we didn't direct it to the hotels, which was an option that was available to put a cylinder in the hotels, like some other brands did. We actually put it more towards the service of the community at large. And I think every brand, every hotel, every city is far more prepared today than we were in 2020. And I think that's the resilience of the Indian people, um, and of course the agility that each one of us has shown. Of course, it's been difficult times for all of us, and a lot of us have lost people, personally, and professionally. But yeah, I think the bounce back that you spoke of is commendable to everyone here.
And my last question to you, Nikhil Sharma, is a personal one. And because I know you've been very busy during the last 2 years, even with the lockdowns, and you've written something. Tell us a little bit about that.
Ah, I actually ended up writing a book. It's called Rumi and Khabib Consulting. Truthfully, I did that because when when you were sitting at home and you want to avoid a fight with your wife, you need space, and you can't say I'm working because there was no work when the pandemic hit, right? So I started. This was a project that I was working on, but I started writing more ferociously, and published it in Jan of 2021. I, so Rumi was a Turkish poet 800 years ago. Kabir is, of course, an Indian poet, and Kabir ki dohe are very famous. The story, the plot, Bikram, is that they are happiness coaches in an IT company in Gurgaon, and they use their poetry and old age wisdom for new age problems. So that's really what the book is about. It's available on Amazon for whoever wants to buy it, and contribute to the Sharma Welfare Fund. So please go on Amazon. It's called Rumi and Kabir Consulting. Please buy it. I'd love to hear your views, and love it, hate it. Would love to hear whatever you have to say for it.
The Sharma Welfare Fund is for the Sharma family or for Nikhil Sharma personally, or it's a fund for other people to take? That clarity is needed.
It's
That was a
the
follow-up
fun to fund
question.
the next book.
Okay, the fund to fund the next book. And also, my last question is that has Mrs. Sharma read it? Because it was a kind of
Yes,
proof
yes.
kisi mein I was
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
that. Okay.
She's been the proofreader, the editor, the critic, a lot of it, and the success of the book is due to her and to my parents, and I can't take that away from her and my parents. I think all of them helped contribute towards the book and towards who I am today. So absolutely
I'm
gratitude.
glad. I'm glad that you did something with your time during the lockdown, because I know a lot of hoteliers who were lost. A lot of hoteliers thought about where they were and have left the industry also during the same time. But that's a conversation for later. And I want to thank you, Nikhil, for joining me on this first top table. And I hope you join as an audience in the next one that we have in the series.
Look forward.
And then we're going to be meeting on and off. And good luck with Wyndham and your soft brand, which you cannot talk about.
Thank you, Bikramjit.
And have a
It's
great
been a
weekend.
pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.